Brock, how you doing, brother?
Hi, it's so nice to be able to talk to you again.
Hey, happy to have you here, Brock.
So
or happy to
I
have
would
you back, I should say.
I would like to continue our discussion from last week, if that would be possible.
Yeah, sure. Just refresh my memory.
I'm the dude who's very into Greek mythology and the connections, because I am very convinced that the Greek mythology is way closer to WoW lore than many people recognize. It's the more cinematics I watched in the last couple of years, the more convinced I am that WoW lore and Greek mythology is actually pretty damn close. And to start it off, I have a question for you.
Okay.
I would like to ask you, what do all things that used to be great about World of Warcraft, what do all of these things have in common?
You're not going to like my answer, because I think what you want me to say is Greek mythology.
No. In general, not only the lore, everything, the gameplay. What do they all have in common?
Well, it's a difficult question, because different things have different reasons why I love them.
Well, then let me just answer it. They are copy-pasted. They are not of Blizzard origin.
I would say yes and no. There are things that Blizzard is pretty uniquely Blizzard for, but I think in general I do agree with you, considering that World of Warcraft is literally the old guard of video games, EverQuest, Lineage 2, Dark Age of Camelot, just changed, made simpler, made easier, not as grindy. But the core premise of WoW Vanilla was very similar to Dark Age of Camelot and EverQuest. So yeah, I can see what you're saying. A lot of the great things in WoW is things that existed somewhere else first, and Blizzard then just sort of utilized it and changed it to fit the World of Warcraft narrative. So okay, I can agree with you, at least ceremonially.
Yeah, the point I want to make is, early Blizzard, they really looked out there for the best around, and they weren't shy to just copy the best things from other games. And for me, they did exactly the same with the lore, because when you dive deep into Greek mythology, you see so many similarities between WoW lore and Greek mythology. But the difference is the perspective. We are in the WoW lore, like we all know, with Chronicles, is written from the Titan's perspective, and when you put it, the Greek mythology on one side, and WoW lore and the explanations of the Titans on the other side, you really see that things like the cosmic forces aren't really a thing. The cosmic forces that we learned about from Chronicles are, in my mind, are a concept of the Titans to explain to us the world around us. So
you're cutting out, Brock. Say again.
I want to say that the world in Warcraft, the world that surrounds us, is dominated by the Titans and their ways. I
would disagree to some extent, because the cosmological forces actually, I think, borrow from quite a few sources. It's definitely not just the sort of Greek mythology. The Titans, you are correct, is very much marred in Greek philosophy and also Greek mythology. As for the cosmological forces, every single one of the cosmological forces holds true to a different sort of genre or a different story. So, for example, if you look at the Void is marred in H.P. Lovecraft. There is so much H.P. Lovecraft in the Void that it would be hard to say that the Void is just a representation of the Titans, right?
No. Maybe I said it a bit wrong. But what I wanted to say is the Titans put themselves in the cosmic force of order.
Yeah.
And what they're really doing is they put themselves on top. They say, we are order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, void was out there from the beginning. Of course, light was out there from the beginning. But for example, the forces of life and the force of death were not forces that used to be there back when the world was created, back when Azeroth was still awake and was giving birth to the Titans, to the giants, to the Void Lords. Because in Greek mythology, the main difference is in Greek mythology, there are not 6 cosmic forces, but there are 6 different kinds of children that Gaia, the mythological Gaia, the Mother Earth, or creation, gave birth to. So you have 6 different kinds of children. You have the Titans, you have the Hecatonkeri, you have the Giants, you have the Cyclops, you have the Furies, and you have the Dryad. And that's, for me, pretty close to the cosmic forces in World of Warcraft. But the difference is that in World of Warcraft, the Titans are ruling our cosmos, so they set it all up differently. For example, the cosmic forces of life and death, they are not cosmic forces in my understanding. For me, life, the cycle of life and death is set up by the Titans to control our universe, to control the flow of anima.
You see, the thing is, so what you've done, you can do with pretty much anything, right? Because I can use the H.P. Lovecraft universe to also explain all 6 of the cosmological forces. Because in the H.P. Lovecraft version of it, it is actually Azeroth in this instance, that dreams the entire universe plus everything else that goes into it. So in the H.P. Lovecraft universe, for example, Azeroth dreams heaven and hell, dreams the sun and the moon, the day and the night. So everything comes from Azeroth that lies at the center of the universe and dreams reality, and everything within reality. So you can, if you want to, you can basically sort of pen World of Warcraft to any mythological source, and you'd be able to make sense of it, at least to some extent, because your entire theory that Greek mythology lies at the center of it and the Titans lie at the center of it is sort of underpinned on the idea that Gaia, as you said, Azeroth, created all of these forces. And then you make a leap in saying that death and life isn't actually one of these forces, but this would be contradicted by the lore.
Yeah, no, what I mean is life and death didn't exist when Azeroth fell dormant. If you have to, you have to understand the chronology. When the last thing Gaia created was the mountains, and after she created the mountains, she fell asleep. And during that time when she fell asleep, all her children, her 6 different kinds of children, they were fighting on the surface of Gaia. Sort of, she formed the mountains around her, like the surface of the earth, for example. And all her children would spend the next, I don't know how many millennia, fighting each other to reign. To reign the earth.
But this is only if we assume that Azeroth was the first. So for your theory to make sense, Azeroth is where everything comes from.
Yes, exactly. That's a direct line I make between Greek mythology and WoW lore. I think Gaia or Azeroth is the ultimate beginning of everything. She is the mother.
I could show you, I could give you a different theory that shoots your theory or blows it up. Because I have a theory that suggests that Azeroth is not part of our universe. Not even close. So, and there's actual evidence that backs this up. There's also evidence that disproves it, but that's the beauty of theory, right? So, you have the sort of origins of our universe that suggest that there were 2 forces at play. at the very start. So before anything existed, there were two forces that were at play. One of these two forces eventually became three forces, and then became six forces, and then ultimately became seven forces. But the seventh force is a fractal of the six. So
Correct.
Either the seventh force created the six, or the six forces created the seventh force. But it's sort of seven, but not really seven. The seventh one seems to be not quite settled. We don't know exactly what the seventh force, whether it was a result of the six or whether it was the cause of the six. Now, in your theory, it suggests that the seventh force is actually Azeroth.
Correct, yes.
All right. In my theory, Azeroth is actually from the second force, the original two forces, the first force becoming the seven. Azeroth is from the second one, so not from the first. This is why the Titans say to Sargeras that they have found a Titan unlike any other Titan they have ever found, more powerful than any Titan they could ever have found, right? Azeroth is more powerful. More importantly, we are told in Shadowlands that the reason we, us mortals, do not end up in the Shadowlands is due to a link, a mysterious link that we have with Azeroth. For some reason, we just do not end up in the Shadowlands, which would make sense if Azeroth isn't of the system, because all mortals born within the system ends up naturally within the Shadowlands, except for those that Azeroth herself have touched. So when Azeroth decides that you are her champion, you do not enter into the natural flow of our universe.
That's the question.
Which could suggest that Azeroth is outside of the system, not part of it. And that the seventh force that you believe is Azeroth, I actually think is Elune. I think Elune is the seventh force.
Elune's role is also pretty much pretty complicated and very difficult to understand.
Yeah,
for me at least. But what I'm about the cycle of life and death and the role of Azeroth, I think in the originally before as I said before, life and death were cosmic forces or were even a thing. Everything was created from Azeroth directly, and nothing died. It was just unmade. That's why, for example, one of the Titans is called the Unmaker, because nothing really died. That's the reason, and that's our link to Azeroth, and the reason why we are not going to the Shadowlands, because the life and death cycle is actually a made-up concept, a made-up system by Titans to either rule this world, to rule Azeroth, and to keep her dormant, because it's as important for the Titans to keep Azeroth dormant as it is to reign the cosmos, or to reign World of Warcraft.
Yeah, but you can see why. So I don't mind your theory, but in order for your theory to work, we all have to accept your headcanon, and that's not an insult. That is just, I do headcanon all the time as well. My theory of Azeroth being on the outside, not part of the 6 or the 7, is also headcanon. But the only way for your theory to work is if all of us accept the headcanon part, which suggests that Azeroth is where everything started from.
Well, that's what I think, where obviously Alex Afrasiabi and all the old guard of Blizzard got the idea from. Because actually, if you think about it, the Blizzard old guard was pretty lazy, so to speak, because as we said, or as I said, they pretty much just copied the best ideas from everywhere, from all out there. And
if we are running on this, so if we are saying what the Blizzard old guard wanted, it has been confirmed that Azeroth was modeled after Azathoth from the H.P. Lovecraft universe, not from the Greek universe. So in that regard, your headcanon also falls apart, right? Because Azeroth is modeled after Azathoth, which is the god, the blind idiot god of the H.P. Lovecraft universe. Now, since then, they have changed it quite considerably They've gone through multiple iterations. They've admitted that they use Norse mythology, Greek mythology, and all the rest of it. Now, I'm not saying any of this to sort of tell you, dude, you're just completely wrong, because you could absolutely be right. But I would suggest don't marry the sort of Greek origin theory too much, because the Greek origin theory can work for the birth of the Titans. It does not necessarily work for the birth of the universe. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I see. But you know, in Greek mythology, Gaia not also created the 6 different sons together with Uranus. She also created the sea, Pontus, and she created the earth, or the mountain. Sorry, the mountain.
Yeah, but this proved purely by the fact that the Titans ordered Azeroth. Before the Titans came to Azeroth, Azeroth was a mess. Yes, and the Titans actually ordered it. So the life, for example, came from the Titans, not from Azeroth. Yes. It was the creation of the dream that brought life to Azeroth.
In fact, it was by the Titans. It was Kronos who cut off his father's, his father's
penis.
Penis to prevent from creating new Titans and new powerful entities. And after he cut off his penis, the giants and the furies and the dryads were formed not from his semen, but from his blood. That's how the other 3 categories of children of Gaia and Uranus came into being.
Yeah. I mean, I know the Greek mythology well enough. We've explored this. You'd probably have a lot more fun discussing this in Discord itself, in the lore discussion thread, because there are a number of people that sort of do the whole retrospective look through the lens of different mythologies. I mean, this conversation can go on for 3 hours if we wanted to go through all of it. In my view, I wouldn't marry the Greek mythology or the Greek mythos that hard with the birth of Azeroth, purely because there's a lot of mythological stories that could be the resultant state of what we see in World of Warcraft right now. Like, the Greek mythos isn't the only one that describes it. It describes some things, but there are other things that can only really be described if you already accept that the Greek mythology should explain it.
I accept it completely. I'm just saying they took also a lot of ideas, a lot of concepts.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, for that, they also took a lot of concepts from Irish mythology or Gaelic mythology. Norse mythology is very strongly represented within Azeroth. Egyptian mythology is also incredibly represented on Azeroth. Then, of course, the H.P. Lovecraft universe, very much represented. There's even Warhammer universe, like threads within the Warhammer universe that is very deeply embedded into Azeroth. So I do agree with you. One of the strengths that World of Warcraft has always had, and this is sort of the last thing that I'll say about this, to sort of link with your original point, one of World of Warcraft's greatest strengths has always been its power to borrow from known things in the universe. And the reason this is such a big strength, if you come up with a story that isn't nested in something we know and understand, you risk losing people as a result of that story. The fact that you can look at World of Warcraft and see stories within World of Warcraft and go, oh my god, wait, this is similar to that other story that I read once, you know, the H.P. Lovecraft book that I read once, or the Greek mythology that we learned about in school. This is very similar to that. It immediately gives you a very nice link to that story. You're immediately familiar with the story because you're familiar with the original story. And that's why that is such a good tactic when it comes to creating stories. Rather than try to come up with a brand new story that's never been done before, you go and you borrow from stories that is already popular within the universe.
Also, Sylvanas, You know, she's also pretty close to Greek mythology in her struggle freeing Nazos. You know, she was put until Afrasiabi left. I think she was put on a very interesting path.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really argue or comment on that because again, Sylvanas' story is just sort of the hero's path that went weird at some point.
Yes,
because I think the Noozer tried to do the impossible. He tried to sort of redeem an irredeemable character, and then he chose the worst possible way to redeem an irredeemable character. If you want to redeem an irredeemable character, you do what you did with Illidan, which is they don't apologize for what they did. And you make it turn out that what they did was actually a good thing. Not sort of accepting the fact that what they did was a bad thing, but then sort of not getting punished really for what they had done. But anyways, do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we jump into someone else?
No, just one quick thing. I really wanted to recommend to you the video because you mentioned you want to dive into Warhammer 40k lore in the universe as a whole. I really want to recommend to you the video from Bricky, where he introduces all Warhammer 40k factions in a very humorous way. So I really want to recommend to you the video of Bricky, every Warhammer 40k faction.
All right, link the video in content suggestions.
I already linked it 3 times, or I tried to link it 3 times.
All right, I'll make sure that I look for it, and then I'll watch it on stream, probably in the week.
We'll have a great time.
All right, I will. Brock, thank you so much for the question. I'd really appreciate it. As always, thanks for the discussion as well. Very interesting. I hope to see you soon again.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
See you.
Peace out, Brock.